It's time for the Rutherford County High School Football Show.
Today's show is brought to you by Webb Aesthetic Plastic Surgery and Med Spa, your hometown plastic surgeon that has been voted your favorite for the last several years. Dr. Webb and staff are honored to wish you a safe and successful football season. Moxie Pest Control, your neighborly pest service serving all of Middle Tennessee. The Yard Sale Store, where all items are up to 90% off. Michael Wilson with First Bank Mortgage. If you're buying, building, or refinancing your home in Rutherford County, give him a call at 615-596-2006. Garbison Construction, they have been impacting and investing in people's lives in Rutherford County for nearly 3 decades, providing quality construction services for additions, remodels, and new construction on residential and commercial projects. And the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Remember, fans don't let fans drive drunk.
And now, from Toots Restaurant in Murfreesboro, please welcome the hosts of the Rutherford County High School Football Show, Murfreesboro Post Sports Editor Monte Hale and Nick Gould.
Good morning and welcome to the Rutherford County High School Football Show. I'm Nick Gould, and alongside me is Murfreesboro Post Sports Editor Monte Hale. We're here at Toots Restaurant on Broad Street in Murfreesboro to give you everything you need to know about high school football for all 11 teams here in Rutherford County. We're now into the playoffs as 9 of our 11 Rutherford County teams qualified, with 3 region champions. Today we'll recap all 8 Rutherford County games played last week and take a look at who is advancing and who is hanging up the pads for the season. We will be announcing this week's Player of the Week and previewing next week's matchups, finishing it up with our selected Rutherford County Game of the Week. We also have a post-game interview with Rockvale head coach Brian Guthrie. The Rutherford County High School Football Show is presented by Webb Aesthetic, your hometown plastic surgeon who has been voted your favorite for the last several years. Dr. Webb and staff are honored to wish you a safe and successful football season. PCA hosted their first ever TSSAA playoff game at Floyd Stadium on Friday night. But Nashville Christian turned out to have the upper hand, winning 47-14. This PCA segment is brought to you by Moxie Pest Control, your neighborly pest service serving all of Middle Tennessee. Tatum Marks got on the board first for the Lions with a rushing touchdown. Fortunately, it was all downhill from there, as their only other score came in the fourth from a Sean Berkefer pass to Ethan Rowland. Both touchdowns were followed by Jack Byford extra points. Lions fought hard all season, and I think they have a bright future ahead of them, led by LeBron Ferguson and rising senior quarterback Tatum Marks.
Yeah, 5 wins, playoffs, host a playoff game. I talked to Coach Ferguson last week, and he was saying, I said, if you step back and looked at what you've accomplished and enjoyed it yet, or, you know, how tunnel vision coaches are, he goes, oh, I definitely have. He goes, I'm really, really proud of this group, what they have accomplished. And he didn't say this, but I'll say it. I think they're further along than most people expected. And, you know, they've got a lot of young players on that team. They had a very good middle school team this year. So I think the future's bright. It's going to take, you know, it's probably going to take 3 or 4 years for them to get to where they really want to be. But who knows? They proved probably some naysayers wrong this year, but I thought it was a nice year for them, a great year for them, actually. And, you know, Nashville Christian, that other side of the Class A bracket is really strong. So their record was misleading at 4-6, but all that aside, those kids got a lot to be proud of, and particularly that senior class. They started this thing in 8-man football, and they're kind of the, you know, they're the pioneers of football, so to speak, at PCA, and I think great things lie ahead for them.
Yeah, I was talking with Tatum Marks, and I said, well, you know, what do you think about this transition from 8-man to 11? And he said, well, we were playing football. You know, it wasn't the exact same, but we were still working in the weight room playing football, and I think, you know, that goes to show with the success they've had this year.
Yeah, it's like Coach Ferg says, it may be 8, it may be 11, but it's still blocking and tackling. So, you know, kind of the old school approach, and really, that's what it is.
And that's your PCA segment brought to you by Moxie Pest Control, neighborly pest service serving all of Middle Tennessee. Siegel went out east to play Region 4 opponent Cookeville on Friday night. Came up short, 35-14. This Siegel segment is brought to you by Garbison Construction, who provides quality construction services for additions, remodels, and new construction on residential and commercial projects in Rutherford County. Cookeville got on the board first, but Siegel answered quickly on a 92-yard, 11-play drive, capped off by a Christian Fletcher 30-yard touchdown run. Cookeville then proceeded to score 2 more in the second quarter, making it 21-7. Cookeville then drove down the field trying to further their lead and was intercepted by Quentin Groves, who brought it all the way to Cookeville's 9-yard line, which translated to a Drew Hostetler touchdown thrown by Tristan Thornton, making it 21-14 at the half. The third quarter was scoreless, but Cookeville added a couple scores in the fourth, basically ending the game and the Stars' season there.
You know, when done your recaps each week, do you feel like you've mentioned Quentin Groves on defense like every week?
Pretty much.
I mean, he's just a ball hawk. That's a tough loss for Siegel. Cookeville, a pretty physical team. You'd like to have had your no knock on the who's quarterbacked them down the stretch. He did a really good job for them, got them in the playoffs. But you would have loved to seen Thomas Santel in this game and what he could have brought to the table, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. And Cookeville's a number 2 seed. They've been pretty consistent throughout the season in a league that had a lot of inconsistency, and so tough road trip, tough place to play, and just a little outmanned in their final game. But hey, been 6-7 years since they've been in the playoffs, so good season for Coach Renshaw and the Stars, and a lot to build off of going into the into the off season.
Yeah, and you mentioned Santel. I think that was a collarbone, so he should be recovered. I know he plans on playing ball next year, so good luck to him, and good luck to the Stars. In the future, they made it to the playoffs this year, so that streak's over, right?
Yeah, and Santel's a good athlete, plays basketball also, so I know they're looking forward to getting him back for that, which will begin soon.
And that's your Siegel segment, brought to you by Garbison Construction, who provides quality construction services for additions, remodels, and new construction on residential and commercial projects in Rutherford County. Stewart's Creek went to Brentwood on Friday night to take on Region 6 opponent Ravenwood, but could not keep up with their relentless rushing attack and lost 28-14. This Stewart's Creek segment is brought to you by Michael Wilson with First Bank Mortgage. If you're buying, building, or refinancing your home in Rutherford County, give them a call. Jeremy Smith got on the board first with a 17-yard touchdown run, and Kenny Jordan scored on an 80-yard pass from Jacob Jones with some trickery in the backfield by the Redhawks. Ehab Habib kicked in both extra points, and that first half lead was not enough as Ravenwood put up 3 scores in the second half, sealing the victory. Pittsburgh commit Nigel Maynard was out with a back injury, which certainly didn't help. Tough game against a tough opponent, but I do think they held their own. I know last time they saw them in the playoffs wasn't quite as close.
Yeah, Ravenwood's one of the top teams in the state. Coach Hester does a great job over there, former Laverne coach. They're a perennial top 10 team in the state each year. Stewart's Creek did hold its own. They finished here with 7 wins. So that's a really good number. They had a lot of success this year. A couple up and downs here and there, but they've got a lot to build on going into the off season. You think about some of these kids. If you go 1-9, 0-10, 2-8, what's your sales pitch to them in the off season? If you win 5 games, like you're for PCA or Stewart's Creek, and you win 7, hey, we got to take that effort a little extra in the weight room in the off season. You've got something to sell to them, So Stewart's Creek certainly falls in that department, and they've got a good program, and I think they'll continue to have a good program.
I think you're right. And like I said with the Santel kid, Nigel, I know you're out with injury, and we hope he recovers well and has a good career at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And that's your Stewart's Creek segment, brought to you by Michael Wilson with First Bank Mortgage. If you're buying, building, or refinancing your home in Rutherford County, give them a call. Rockville took to the road to play Region 4 champion Mount Juliet on Friday night. This was a very tight game, but the Rockets are just a few points short, losing 23-19. This Rockville segment is brought to you by Moxie Pest Control, your neighborly pest service serving all of Middle Tennessee. Timmy Williams got the scoring started for the Rockets with a 64-yard pick six. Later in the third, Malachi Tellen threw a 79-yard touchdown pass to Jalen Morgan. Morgan scored another in the fourth, finishing the day with 6 catches for 135 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tellen completed 13 of 27 for 193 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Down 4, Rockville was driving at the end of the game, but the last pass was intercepted in the end zone, and that ended the season there.
I think the good Rockville showed up in this game.
Yeah.
We've talked about them, within our coverage area in Rutherford County, probably the most yo-yo team all year, just up and down, but they came, they brought it. Mount Juliet's a tough place to play, great atmosphere, they're a number 1 seed. I guarantee you their coach was thinking this is not the ordinary number 4 seed we're playing here, because Rockville's very athletic, an experienced team, and they left it all on the line out there. I think they've got a lot to build on. They're going to lose quite a bit of talent. A lot of seniors on this team.
They had a big senior class.
Yes, a senior class that's paved the way, that took the lumps the first year, didn't win a game, I don't think, and then it just slowly things started to come their way, and break or 2 here, break or 2 there. They might be playing this week.
Yeah, they might get that Oakland matchup.
Yeah,
I know they'd love to replay that one again.
Sure.
Everybody wants a second chance at them, right?
Absolutely.
And we've harped on this all season, but at the end of the day, I think it was maybe the kicking game that really won this game for Mount Juliet. They made a long field goal after the half. Rockville missed both of their point afters. I know one of them they went for 2, but when it's a 4-point game like that, and there's a kicking advantage on one side and maybe a couple missed opportunities on the other, that makes up that 4 or 5 point difference.
Yeah, it's special teams. Tell you what, if you've got a dependable kicker in high school, that's such a luxury. And, not just kicking field goals or extra points. I mean, you expect to do that, but, when you've got like a kicker that bangs it out of the end zone on every kickoff, well, you've won part of the special teams battle there, because you don't have to have a recovery team out there,
Well, and I think just about every week we've had a kickoff return for a touchdown somewhere,
And there's a couple teams that got kids that can bang it through the end zone. Well, if it goes into the end zone, you can't bring it out in high school. So it's a valuable weapon to have.
I was in Mount Juliet on Friday as our news editor Ivan Aronin caught an interview with Rockville head coach Brian Guthrie. Let's go to that now.
So right to the end, our kids didn't quit. I'm so proud of them. It got to a point where the deck was stacked against us, and we had to start making some plays, and we started making plays. Our kids battled and fought. And they're just a tremendous bunch of kids, and they fought for each other. And, we didn't make enough plays. We made too many bad ones and not enough good ones.
What do you remember? What will you remember about this team?
Just the leadership out of our senior group. It's a real special group. They're real strong in their faith, and they brought us together as a brotherhood and a team. They're going to be a group of seniors that I'll remember forever. Just a bunch of special kids.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I'm Dr. Webb. I'm the owner and operator of Webb Aesthetic Plastic Surgery here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. We offer services for both men and women, breast, body, and face for both.
I meet with patients who are ready to schedule surgery. We talk about their pre-op appointments, what to expect before surgery, what to expect during and after surgery.
We graduated medical school and nursing school the same day, and I had things that I believed in and stood by that I wasn't willing to compromise on. So when he came home, we had to discuss that we were on the same page with how we treated patients and staff. We want them to feel like they're part of our family.
If you're looking for a great deal, look no further than the Yard Sale Store. Our locally owned and award-winning store is stocked with daily arrivals of new items at unbeatable prices. From housewares to sporting goods, flooring to furniture, we have everything you need. With our huge selection and discounts up to 90% off retail, you're sure to find exactly what you're looking for. Visit us today at one of our 3 convenient locations or check out our website, yardsalestore.com, to see our latest arrivals.
When it comes to building or remodeling, you need a builder you can trust. Look no further than Garbison Construction. Voted one of Rutherford County's best builders, we deliver quality every time, from start to finish. As a locally owned company with decades of experience, we're proud to serve Rutherford and surrounding counties. Let us help make your dream a reality. Visit garbisonconstruction.com to learn more.
What separates us from other companies in Tennessee, that's going to be our mission to our customers, is to always improve the quality of life. That's from taking care of your pest to a friendly voice on the phone when you call, to a technician that comes out and he's competent, he's going to solve the problem for you. We're considered a full encompassing service, so we're going to take care of 50 plus different pests, and we'll always have your back.
Welcome back to the Rutherford County High School Football Show as we continue to recap the first round of the playoffs. The hard part is over. We already talked about the teams who did not advance to the second round. Now let's recap the winners from last week, as 5 of the 11 Rutherford County teams are advancing to the second round. Eagleville went out west and defeated West Carroll 37-6. This Eagleville segment is brought to you by Moxie Pest Control, your neighborly pest service serving all of Middle Tennessee. Brody Macklemore was 8 of 9 passing for 151 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also rushed for 79 yards and a 2-point conversion. Elijah Ferns had 5 receptions for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. Noah Lilly also added a touchdown reception. Caleb Snitzer had 21 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown. Marshall Spann added his own rushing touchdown and 4 tackles and an interception on defense. Alex Bryant led the defense with 6 tackles of his own. Jeremiah Broyles was 2 for 2 on PATs and added a 26-yard field goal. Huge win for the Eagles as they pick one up on the road and head to the second round.
Yeah, I got to quit selling them short. I've known Floyd. We went to school together at MTSU. I've known him for over 30 years. Of course, I did say I don't know anything about West Carroll. I just know going west is always tough. Always has been, but Eagle went out there and just owned that game from the get-go, and that's a big deal for them to get through the first round. They've had no problems getting into the playoffs. It's advancing has been tough on them because they've always have a tough matchup, but they went in there and just dominated that game and sets up a big one on Friday night against Moore County.
Yeah, speaking of rematches against tough opponents, yeah. I know Eagleville's wanting that, and they're just going to have to deliver like they have been the past couple weeks.
Yeah, they're playing really well. It's 3 weeks in a row that they've just really dominated their opponents.
I know they've kind of gone back and forth on quarterback situations, but Brody Macklemore has really stepped up. I was watching some of the highlights from the game, and yeah. I mean, he is one heck of a ball player.
He's a tremendous athlete. Probably, maybe the best athlete in that school. I mean, he started out as their quarterback anyway. He's a state wrestling champion. He played on the 2-time state baseball champions.
He looks kind of like a baseball player.
Yeah, he's he's a starter on that team. He's played football. His brother was a good athlete, but wherever you put him, you're going to get max effort and great play from him.
it's disappointing that Eagleville kind of turned it around halfway through the season. If they were playing like this all year, I could see him being a Mr. Football finalist.
Could have been, just because he plays all over the field.
Yeah. And that's your Eagleville segment, brought to you by Moxie Pest Control, your neighborly pest service serving all of Middle Tennessee. Oakland hosted Region 4 opponent Gallatin. It did not really let the Green Wave into the game, winning 38-3. This Oakland segment is brought to you by the Art Sale Store, where all items are up to 90% off. Jacob Taylor got on the board first with a 24-yard field goal. Taylor was also 5 for 5 on PATs. Dwayne Morris rushed for 188 yards and a touchdown on 19 carries and added another 102 receiving. Ashton Jones and Craig Tutt also scored touchdowns on the ground, and the other two came through the air. One by Kyler Creasy to Chase Bandy, and the other from Kaija King to Patrick Freeman. Coming off a loss to Riverdale the week before, I think above all else, this was a statement win by Oakland, saying they're ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, they brushed it aside, went out, business as usual, and they had almost 500 yards in total offense. Gallatin barely had over 100. I mean, it was a dominant defense. You give up, their defense gave up that scoring drive to River. That defense takes a lot of pride. Yeah, and they did a good job because obviously they're wanting that rematch. But you got to win 2 games before you get to that rematch. And
that's all they can think about.
And but there's. Like I said last week, I feel sorry for whoever's playing Oakland because it's not going to be pleasant, and it wasn't. 38-3, the game was over quick, and on they go to face Mount Juliet, and I know Coach Perry and Creasy, they go way back, but Oakland's they've got the tunnel vision right now.
Yeah, it looks like they might have even gotten their backup. I don't know that I've seen Kaija King.
Kalijah. Yeah.
Kalijah. I don't know that I've seen him.
He's played a lot this year, but their 2 horses are certainly Morris and Jones, and then Hainsworth's in there, Kalijah King's in there. They've got a lot of weapons. They've got kids that would be starting at other programs, and that depth comes in handy because they've needed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's your Oakland segment, brought to you by the Art Sale Store, where all items are up to 90% off. Riverdale hosted Region 4 opponent Green Hill on Friday and won big 50-13. This Riverdale segment is brought to you by Moxie Pest Control, your neighborly pest service serving all of Middle Tennessee. Quarterback Braden Graham completed 24 of 32 for 383 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also had an interception, which is only his 3rd on the year. Dominic Taylor rushed for 66 yards and a touchdown on 13 carries, and Isaiah Verser rushed for 71 on 3 carries and a touchdown. Verser also added an 82-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Brock Montgomery led the receivers with 8 receptions for 116 yards and a touchdown. Ben Woodruff had 6 for 103 and a touchdown. Keyshawn Williams had 6 as well for 94 yards and a touchdown. And Jalen Thompson secured the other score on a 26-yard TD reception. Khalil Arman was 5 for 7 on PATs and added a 39-yard field goal. The defense forced 3 turnovers and held them to just 55 yards in the second half. And with one of Green Hill's touchdowns coming off a pick 6, Riverdale's defense only allowed 6 points. There's nothing hotter than the Riverdale offense, complemented by their defense, led by senior quarterback Braden Graham.
Yeah, I was listening to those stats. It's three receivers with essentially 100 yards
and a touchdown
in one game. So I mean, we've talked about they don't have just 1 or 2 guys. They got multiple guys. Jalen Thompson, throw him in there. They got 2 running backs, and then Graham's playing at a level that's almost unheard of, and we'd be remiss not to mention the fact that Graham, DeJuan Morris at Oakland, and Eli Wilson at Middle Tennessee Christian School are all Mr. Football semifinalists. I wanted to make sure we got that in there today somehow. So you mentioned Graham. I mean, it's hard to vote against him the way he's playing right now. And the thing about him, he's completing like 73% of his passes.
Yeah.
For now, I guess it would be 37 touchdowns, maybe something like that.
39.
And
four this week.
And 3,000 yards. I mean, he's had an NFL season. I'd like to have him on my fantasy team. That's for sure. But anyway, no, the Warriors are rolling. The beatdowns keep coming.
Yeah, I mean, and we interviewed him. You can see it in the sports section of the Murfreesboro Post. Braden Graham, of course, down on the fact that he gave up a pick six early in the game, but he didn't let up later.
No, that happens.
He kept it rolling.
Yeah, you can't have a conscience. You got to go back out there and play your game.
Do they do a running clock in the playoffs, or is it?
I was talking with somebody the other night about that. I don't know.
This might have qualified for that. I think it's 35 points. So.
Yeah. I do not know. I would think so, but you don't see it happen.
Well, now that we mention it, I guess the Oakland game was 35 points too. But.
Yeah. I know that game ended pretty quick. It was 2 hours. It was 2 hours long.
That one was over before the rest of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's your Riverdale recap segment brought to you by Moxie Pest Control, neighborly pest service serving all of Middle Tennessee. Region champion Smyrna hosted Region 6 opponent Independence and prevailed, advancing to the second round on a 26-14 victory. The Smyrna segment is brought to you by the Yard Sale Store, where all items are up to 90% off. Running back Thomas Jones left the game early on an injury, but DJ Barksdale came in rushing for 109 yards on 26 carries. Late in the game, Michael Robinson returned an interception for 58 yards, securing the victory. Like to see the Bulldogs advance against a tough region, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, Michael Robinson. We've been hearing that name a lot lately on the defensive side of the ball.
Smyrna's defense, I mean, they're killer.
That's 7 wins in a row, and I doubted the Dogs, and they bit me. And they certainly bit Independence. Really got off to a great start, and I thought that was big for them. They kind of took control of that game early. Independence made a comeback, but just the defense of Smyrna, and they got guys making plays on offense now. They're not a prolific offensive team by any means, but they got kids that can make plays. You mentioned Barksdale. He's a young back. It's a big physical guy who is really good. Obviously, I don't know the extent of Thomas Jones's injury, but he's certainly a guy they will want back this week.
Well, he was injured earlier in the season, wasn't he?
Yes, he's been banged up a lot. Another really good athlete, a track star, medalist in the spring fling. So another really good athlete, and they certainly will need him in the lineup this week.
Definitely. And that's your Smyrna segment brought to you by the Yard Sale Store, where all items are up to 90% off. That wraps up all of our recaps from the first round of the playoffs. But stick with us as we announce this week's Rutherford County Player of the Week and take a look at next week's matchups right after this word from our sponsors.
What separates us from other companies in Tennessee, that's going to be our mission to our customers, is to always improve the quality of life. That's from taking care of your pest to a friendly voice on the phone when you call, to a technician that comes out, he's competent, he's going to solve the problem for you. We're considered a full encompassing service, so we're going to take care of 50 plus different pests, and we'll always have your back.
I'm blessed through the blood of Christ, with a beautiful wife and family, to have served in the United States Navy, now serving the great town of Smyrna, and blessed that all of our boys went to Stewart's Creek. I'm Michael Wilson with First Bank Mortgage, with over 20 years experience in mortgage lending. If you're buying your first house or your fifth, refinancing or building your dream home, please call or email me, or come see me at the South Lowry branch. It would bless me to assist in financing your dreams. Why the Hawaiian shirt? Closing on your home is a celebration, not a business meeting. Go Hawks!
He shoots, and he scores!
We offer services for both men and women, breast, body, and face for both.
People come to plastic surgery offices because they want to improve something that they feel is a flaw in themselves.
About 10 years ago, our men's procedures were probably about 10% of what we did. Nowadays, it's more like 30 or 40%. Eyelid lifts, liposuction, and we even do hair transplants here.
We are part of the community, and we want to be able to walk around and see faces in the community that we've made happy.
Thanks for sticking with us as we continue to cover some of the best football played in the state, right here on the Rutherford County High School Football Show. 3 of our Rutherford County players have been nominated for Mr. Football. In 6A, we have Riverdale senior quarterback Braden Graham, who finished the regular season with 2,713 yards passing, 35 touchdowns, and a 72% completion percentage, while only throwing 2 interceptions. Also nominated in 6A is Oakland running back Dwan Morris, who has rushed for 1,232 yards and 18 touchdowns, while averaging 166 yards in total offense per game. Keep in mind he has only played one half in several games this year, but when he does play a full game, he gets well over 200 yards. In Division II 1A, we have MTCS running back Eli Wilson, who has rushed for 1,473 yards and 24 touchdowns, averaging 15.5 yards per attempt while adding 2 receiving touchdowns. That's a first down every time he gets the ball.
Yeah, pretty much.
Congratulations to those 3 athletes on spectacular seasons. They will be making the announcements on Tuesday after the championship games in December.
I spilled the beans early. I should have known you would have that in there, but I didn't want to forget it.
Well, hey, these guys need as much recognition as we can give them.
That's right.
But those 3 players have all received honors from us as Rutherford County Player of the Week. Monty, who do we have this week?
We're going with Mr. Morris.
Dwan
Morris. 188 yards rushing last week, averaged 10 yards of attempt per attempt, and they added 102 yards receiving in the Patriots' 38-3 win over Gallatin.
Yeah, and that's 2 weeks in a row he's gotten to that 300-yard mark. Talk about fantasy players. You know?
He's a dynamic player. They can, they can line him up at receiver, slot, put him in motion. They can do a lot of things with him.
And I know we got an interview with the Gallatin head coach, and he was saying the biggest thing I think that separates us from Oakland is their off-season work in the
weight room. Yeah.
Right? And I guess it really showed. And a guy like him, a powerful running back who can really just explode through the line into that second level and go, 60, 70, 80 yards whenever he needs to, really.
Well, he's a 4-star recruit, and he's listed as an athlete. So it's not receiver, it's not running back, he's listed as an athlete. So he's going to be playing college football at a high level.
Yeah, he fits the bill of an athlete, doesn't he?
No question. No question.
Well, and another thing too, he's complimented, like you mentioned. He's got Hainsworth coming out of the backfield and a slew of other gentlemen who can help him out. If he needs a quick water break, he's okay with.
Well, Ashton Jones is a 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah.
So I mean, but that's not unusual for Oakland to have 2,000 yard rushers. The way they use their offense.
Yeah.
So not surprising at all.
And before we get into the matchups, I do kind of want to look at some of the playoff scenarios. So we do have, like we mentioned, Riverdale and Oakland both win. That's going to lead to another matchup, the Battle of the Borough Part 2.
Part 2.
And that will be hosted by Riverdale this time.
Yeah.
I know Oakland's looking for revenge. I know Riverdale's looking, they didn't score that much, or as much as they usually do week to week against Oakland. That's probably their lowest.
Oakland's got a great defense. Riverdale has proven to have a great defense. So, like I said, they got to get through their business this week. I'm pretty sure they will, but it'll shape up for a lot of hype.
Yeah.
Come the following week.
And then moving to the other side of the 6A bracket, I was really hoping for Stewart's Creek to win and set up another Stewart's Creek Smyrna matchup. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So we'll say Smyrna wins. Then they would be playing, I think, the winner of Brentwood and Summit. So they've got two really tough games in order to try to get to the semifinals.
Yeah, they do. They got they have a gauntlet. You know, you still got Germantown over there.
And I don't know who would host potentially the Brentwood Smyrna game. They're both number one
I haven't
seeds.
looked that far out on the bracket, so.
Yeah, and I know, the Smyrna coach would probably kill me for talking about it because, they're focusing on one thing and one team only right now.
That's right.
And then MTCS, I think, coming off a bye, they probably have an easier game this week, but that Friendship game is looming.
It is. Friendship's got a tough opponent this week, I think, in Jackson Christian, though. So I think that's who it is. I may be wrong, probably. But, yeah.
That's another one where Friendship was, like we talked about with Revenge, they're looking to get that second shot.
Yeah.
Against the rival.
Well, I think if I've read the bracket correctly, I think the only way the last time they played in the semifinals. I think the only way they could meet this year is in the finals. But
that would be a good game.
Could be wrong, but a long way to go for them, too. There's some good teams over in West Tennessee.
And then Eagleville, I think they probably have one of the toughest teams in the entire bracket this week. But you got to beat the best to be the best.
They have
right?
the toughest matchup of anybody. We'll talk about that when we preview it. But, yeah, we got their hands full this week.
Yeah, and, I will say this. There are some 10-0 teams that have lost. I think Loretto, 10-0. They lost this. They lost this week. And Moore County being 10-0, being undefeated. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. So
they probably have the Mr. Football
for that
winner.
For that one,
yeah. He's unbelievable. So it'll be be interesting to see how Eagle fares.
Well, stick around with us. We'll be right back with Monty's picks and our Rutherford County Game of the Week.
I'm Dr. Webb. I'm the owner and operator of Webb Aesthetic Plastic Surgery here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. We offer services for both men and women, breast, body, and face for both.
I meet with patients who are ready to schedule surgery. We talk about their pre-op appointments, what to expect before surgery, what to expect during and after surgery.
We graduated medical school and nursing school the same day, and I had things that I believed in and stood by that I wasn't willing to compromise on. So when he came home, we had to discuss that we were on the same page with how we treated patients and staff. We want them to feel like they're part of our family.
If you're looking for a great deal, look no further than the Yard Sale Store. Our locally owned and award-winning store is stocked with daily arrivals of new items at unbeatable prices. From housewares to sporting goods, flooring to furniture, we have everything you need. With our huge selection and discounts up to 90% off retail, you're sure to find exactly what you're looking for. Visit us today at one of our 3 convenient locations or check out our website, yardsalestore.com, to see our latest arrivals.
Watch it! Did that guy even see that girl on her bike?
Just like looking for other cars before switching lanes, drivers should keep their eyes out for those traveling on bikes. When a crash occurs between a vehicle and a bike, it's the cyclist who is most likely to be injured. Give cyclists room and do not pass too closely. Riders have the same rights and responsibilities as those behind the wheel.
Be aware, be alert. Brought to you by THSO, the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.
What separates us from other companies in Tennessee, that's going to be our mission to our customers, is to always improve the quality of life. That's from taking care of your past to a friendly voice on the phone when you call, to a technician that comes out, he's competent, he's going to solve the problem for you. We're considered a full encompassing service, so we're going to take care of 50 plus different pests, and we'll always have your back.
And welcome back to Toots Restaurant on Broad Street on the Rutherford County High School Football Show. 5 of our 11 Rutherford County teams have made it to the second round of the playoffs, so let's preview those matchups and determine who we think will advance to the quarterfinals. In Division 2 1A, we have MTCS hosting FACS. The Cougars are coming off a bye, and First Assembly is coming off a 56-42 victory over Grace Christian. Just to put this into perspective, MTCS beat Grace Christian 42-14 in the second week of the season. So by the transitive property of football, which is foolproof in determining games, it appears MTCS has the upper hand.
Yeah, I tell you, they get into them comparing scores, it'll get you in trouble. I guess the one thing for MTCS, it'll be interesting to see how they come back after a week off. You know, some coaches like just to keep playing.
Yeah.
You're in a groove. They don't want a week off, but that's the way it worked. I guess one thing is alarming. You look up and you face an opponent that scored 56 points.
True.
But as I did in my picks column this week, I think MTCS certainly has, I'm not going to compare scores, but I know they have a lot better defense than what FACS faced last week. And, hey, if you want to get into a shootout, they'll be more than happy to oblige you in that regard. So with that in mind, I think MTCS moves on, let's say 49-21.
That sounds about right. I'll have to agree with you there, Monty. Pulling for the Cougars in that one. Hosting that game, go out and see it if you have the opportunity. In Division 1A, we have Eagleville traveling to Region 5 rival Moore County. Moore County is undefeated on the year and beat the Eagles 45-20 earlier in the season. But I will say this, I think Eagleville is a different team coming off their third straight win, led by senior quarterback Brody Malcolmore. Monty, who you got in this one?
Well, this is a unique matchup. Chris White, the head coach at Moore County, his son is the Mr. Football semifinalist, probably the favorite to win it. And Coach Walker at Eagleville, Chris played at MTSU when Floyd was coaching at MTSU. So they know each other well. You know, there's history there. And, you know, I remember Chris when he was little, you know. And so, but no, Moore County's got a really, I think the big difference with Moore County and Eagleville, it's not the athletes, it's the size and the strength. They wear you down. They just keep coming at you and they just keep wearing you down. You look at the first matchup, it was close at halftime. And then Moore County took off, and I kind of expect a similar outcome. I expect a close game in the first half, and then I look for Moore County to pull away and probably win. You know, it was 45-20 last time, something like that probably.
And that's a good point. Eagleville, I hate to say it, they just don't have that many kids on the football team. They have a bunch of guys that play both ways, and I mean they're talented athletes. Don't get me wrong, but when you have somebody with bigger numbers,
and it's not the numbers, they just don't. Their numbers are actually okay. It's just they don't have a lot of huge physical kids, like 255, 260 up front. You know that just beat on you and bang on you. You know, now that's they struggle with those physical teams.
Yeah. You think head coach Floyd Walker is kind of wishing he didn't teach his old old player?
Chris was a linebacker, and Floyd coached running backs at that time, I think. So he had nothing to do with that, but there is a history there.
He's like, I wish I didn't give him the secret tricks or whatever. But anyway, I think those guys will go at it with good in mind, a fun environment, and we hope for a good close game. I know these guys are rivals. So are you taking Moore County? You said first half might be a little.
Yeah, I think it was 45-20. I took Moore County something about like that this time, I would think.
All right. Moving on, we have Riverdale hosting Cookeville. I'm not sure if there's going to be anything stopping senior quarterback Braden Graham on Friday night.
Well, he's locked in, dialed in, whatever you want to call it in. This years ago, Cookeville actually was in Riverdale's district for a long time. So But, you know, that has since passed. Everything's changed so much. They've had some really good teams up there, but they typically run into Oakland or Riverdale, and they get knocked out. I could see, you know, Cookeville giving them a little bit of a battle early, but I just don't think anybody can just effectively shut down Riverdale. I mean, if they don't go out and beat themselves, I expect them to win, you know, 49-14, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And we keep talking about the offense, but the defense also deserves credit. I know.
Yeah.
I know they put up big points every week, but
They got some athletes on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah. And Oakland goes on the road to Mount Juliet, and what should be a tougher opponent than Gallatin, as they did win their region. So.
Yeah. Coach Perry's a good coach. You know, I'm sure he's going to come up with a plan that he thinks will give them a chance to win. You know, they had, 3 or 4 years ago, they had a classic up there. It was 14-7. Oakland won it on a block punt, you know. So,
yeah, I saw that.
But I just think Oakland's just way better. You know, I just think they're a much better team, and they don't really care where they play. You know, if it's a good atmosphere, that's what you want as a player. You know, I think a lot of people think players get intimidated by that atmosphere. I think what the home crowd does, it really juices the home team up. But there's nothing more than you like as a visiting team. You go in there and just shut that crowd up right off the bat, you know. The competitiveness in you loves that. You know, you go up and they're raising Cain and all that, and you go out and blow it 80 yards down their throat on the first drive. That then in turn juices the visiting team up. I think Oakland wins this by 3 touchdowns at least.
Yeah. And speaking of numbers, I know the Mount Juliet Green Hill game had 5,000 people or something crazy, and last week Rockvale ended up showing out and brought a whole bunch of people, and that's going to be a good environment there in Mount Juliet.
Good gates.
Yeah.
They're getting some good gates up there. That's what you want.
Well, they're charging that playoff money this week.
That's right. Yeah.
And anyway, let's get to our Rutherford County Game of the Week. I did want to see Stewart's Creek beat Ravenwood and set up another inter-city matchup, but this should still set up to be a really good game. Smyrna hosts Ravenwood, who beat them early on in the season 28-6. But this is a new Smyrna team who has won 7 in a row since. I'm not sure if Thomas Jones is still going to be out, which could hurt them. But, Monty, who are you taking in this one?
I got to go with Ravenwood, you know, and Smyrna's like, keep picking against us, Monty. But, you know.
They want it that way. Prove them wrong.
No, I mean, obviously, you know, Smyrna's come leaps and bounds from the first time they play. And if you're Ravenwood, you're worried about that if you're their Coach Hester and their staff. If you beat them pretty easily, well, this is a totally different Smyrna team.
Absolutely.
Totally different. But Ravenwood's a very good team now. I mean, they're really good. I don't know if they're, you know, state championship good, but they're really good. And I've got to go with Ravenwood. You know, 24-14, something like that.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a pretty close game most of the way. And, you know, hopefully if you're a Bulldog fan, some things will go your way, and you play a really, really good game. They'll have to play probably their best game of the year to win this, but they're capable of doing that.
And I know their defense is going to need to come up big. They had a pick 6 and a couple turnovers there on that side of the ball.
And it has. They've hung their hat on defense during this 7-game winning streak.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for hanging out with us here on the Rutherford County High School Football Show. We'll be back next week to recap the 5 games played this weekend and take a look at who will be advancing to the quarterfinals. We'll be here next Tuesday at 10 a.m. right here at Toots Restaurant on Broad Street. See you then.
You've been watching the Rutherford County High School Football Show with Murfreesboro Post Sports Editor Monte Hale and Nick Gould. Read this week's Murfreesboro Post for all the latest news about Rutherford County High School sports.
The Rutherford County High School Football Show has been brought to you by Web Aesthetic Plastic Surgery and Med Spa, Moxie Pest Control, The Yard Sale Store, Michael Wilson with First Bank Mortgage, Garbison Construction, and the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.
Join us each week at this time on Main Street Media TV to get the latest on Rutherford County football.